I'm a I play around a bit with AI. I always get people complaining about it, and I understand why. I mean, but I still sort of feel guilty even just using Photoshop or any kind of computer tools.
Yeah,
I'm
same.
old enough, and they're complicated. Or like photography. Most people's holiday photos aren't very interesting, but then somebody can do something interesting with it.
Right.
But I mean that the AI has always been coming. It's here. I mean, yeah, the copyright issues. Disney have got their copyright lawyers on the case now. I mean, all our law exists because of Disney anyway.
Right. No, I think some of the grievance that artists like myself, and you can agree or tell me if you feel differently. I think some of the argument I have against it is that young artists never learn the basic fundamentals, and
Yeah,
all of a sudden they have these amazing results, highly rendered, beautifully colored, and they literally can't draw. And I
yeah,
think that's my biggest argument is that not that you should suffer and, struggle like I did, but I think there's so much value in developing yourself, literally analog with your hand-eye coordination and perspective and doing all the things. I feel like
yeah.
that's an important part of the journey. And you skip that if you use AI from the beginning. That's just kind of how I feel.
Yeah, I 100% agree with that. Yes, definitely. I mean, there's so much to be gained from doing it, and it's just sort of personal mastery. Like I'm always like striving to be better. I mean, there's always artists I'm looking at and admiring, and go, how the hell do they do that? And
Right.
just trying to sort of figure out how to do it for myself. To feel like, oh, I can do that, and
Mhm.
I'm expressing myself, and and it's sort of learning like what you can achieve, versus what's in your head and bringing it out. But you could sort of say that side of it. You could still say the same with photography. I mean, photography sort of immediately kind of did away from the need of illustration.
Yeah.
You could just push a button on the camera, and now you've got a picture. And so it's not in that regards. It's quite similar. Yeah.
Yeah. So do you think that as your style changed, that your audiences changed as you move from different comic book styles or cartoon styles that, your audience has grown with you, or do you think you've gained a completely different audience? I feel like just even you being on YouTube or drawing live on Instagram, you might have gained a wider audience, but I'd like to kind of get your opinion.
Yeah, I would say, I mean, okay, I tried to build audience. I've never been that good at building a big audience at all. So I don't really know. I mean, I think that some of the most successful things I did were the search and find books I did, but they sort of came about because I'd done something like that, and then my publisher asked me to do them, and then publisher can sort of help you get more successful, but then I'm always very unhappy with publishers for one reason or another. My beautiful comic, it had a sort of small but loyal audience. I would say I have a few readers that have really liked it over the years. I mean, maybe when it was on Modern Tales, there was probably quite a few people reading it. But yeah, I certainly at some point I would do that in the evening after my day job. But at some point I thought, oh, I've got quite good at drawing now, and that's partly why I did it was to get better at drawing. Like, oh, if I just do this every day and make myself do it on a schedule, I will get better. And at some point I thought, oh, I think I am sort of getting a bit better now, and I started trying to pursue illustration more. And I would always try to pursue it, but I really sort of got more like, okay, I'm going to try and pursue it. But I sort of stopped doing Pupil then because okay, I can't I can't make any money doing that, and I sort of would like to get back to it. But I really sort of focused on things, making that, I could make it my job. And again, but I sort of built that up bit by bit over the years, and just always taking whatever commissions that I could get. But at some point, I thought, oh, I'm sort of good enough, and I really made it go and sent portfolio out to lots of places and started getting work, and then I managed to sort of stay on that wobbly bicycle ever since.
There. No, I think a lot of times too, we forget like our initial like reason why we even started and then sort of pursue making it a career or income. And then you want to, like you said, circle back and do the things that, okay, I initially started it because of this. Because I started school wanting to do illustration and then realized I didn't want to be told what to do. I wanted to do my own thing because illustration
Yeah,
is definitely you have to do what the client wants, right? So I
yeah.
quickly realized I don't like that.
Yeah, and actually, I didn't go to art school. I mean, I have gone to art schools and I've taken courses and studied a fair bit, but I didn't go to art school. Actually went to business school because I sort of kind of thought, oh, if you want to be an independent artist, you actually have to be a businessman. I was sort of, I don't know. I mean, I just like, also, I just like, I didn't want to be a sort of starving artist. I thought, well, you've got to, there's certain things. So I did, it was quite a sort of practical business course where, we sort of learned all about sort of accounting and marketing and all these things. And, but then at first then I was sort of regretted it. I was like, I should have gone to art school. But then later as the years went by, I was like, no, I was quite glad that I did that. I
Yeah.
don't know. It's difficult. I think it's hard because you go straight in, well, what are you going to do? You're going to get a job with Disney and then you're sort of working with that. Well, maybe that's good. I don't know. There's so many different ways to go. There are different jobs that you can get, and there's different. I mean, but yeah, if you want to be sort of independent and doing your own thing, I mean, again, it's like harder. You're choosing the hard, choosing to play on hard mode.
Yeah, well,
So,
I think because of who my mom was, it was like, you don't really need to go to school for art. Why don't you go to school for business or go to school for whatever it was? And
yeah,
yeah, I had to fight to get to art school because I'm like, if I'm going to spend 4 years getting a degree, I have to enjoy what I'm doing. There's just no way that I'm going to go to art school for whatever. Because she's, very much like you need to be independent, be able to have your own job. Like you, I didn't want to be starving, so I always had a 9 to 5.
yeah,
Because yeah, too many people that I know are 100% art focused, and they struggled in ways that I did not want to. And I fought against my mom for the longest time, and I was like, looking back, like you, I'm glad I went ahead and got a degree, and so that I could get a 9 to 5 and not be destitute, struggling, whatever you want to call it. There's just no way. I'm not suited for that lifestyle. I need to know where my check is coming from, my food is coming from.
yeah. I mean, it's difficult, and you've got to sort of dedicate. I mean, at some point, I said I'm not going to play video games. In the evening, I'm going to work on my comics, and I'm going to
Yeah,
do that, and yeah, you've got to sort of work on it, and and then yeah, when I started getting well, like so, the picture behind me is from a game that I did with a board game company. So he found me through my comic, and he said, oh, he wanted to use some of my comic images on his game, and I said, oh, I'd like to illustrate your game, and so I
right.
did that, and then I sort of worked with him for a while. That was sort of when I was sort of just starting to go full time with illustration and stuff, and I went after like Dover books, like children's book. My son was young, so I was sort of like, oh, all these sort of coloring books, whatever. So I sort of really did pursue it, and then, but then it is sort of immediately, it's like, okay, you're doing a lot of work, and maybe you're not so much doing the things you want. It's always the case, like, but if you want to make money, go into banking.
For sure.
They seem to hold on to the money.
No, that's exactly how I felt. Like I knew that if I needed to do it, I would do it after work. And then that kind of influenced the type of job I took, right? I needed a job where it was totally right brain and I could do it in my sleep, repetitive, and I don't use any creative juices at work. And then be able to come home and work another 8 hours on my own creative stuff. But yeah, it just meant burning the candle at both ends. But like he said, if you want to do it, then it's worth it. And then weird thing that art school quickly taught me too was, you know, art. You can't have, how do I say it? Don't let your art be so precious, right? And so, uh, I think a lot of the studio work or painting work that I was doing at this when I started my business was super precious to me, and so I quickly pursued something that I could sell and have no emotion over, and I think that really benefited me to be able to make tie-dye and like, oh, I'm not attached emotionally, and
Mm,
it has kind of spiraled or snowballed into a really good lucrative business doing street festivals and fairs selling
mm,
tie-dye
mm.
because I could care less what you do with it. You know what I
Yeah,
mean? It's
yeah,
still creative,
yeah.
it's still art, and it's still fun, and it's part of my creative process, but I can definitely sell it, get rid of it without any compunction at all. Uh,
Yeah, that's nice. Yeah, people. I used to make tie dye. I used to like that at high school. I'd do that a bit. Yeah, that was fun. Yeah,
yes,
it's not. Yeah, yeah, exactly. And but but your art is very original and unique, and it's so sort of distinctive, and very powerful characters that you do, like all the famous people. It's like really,
but
yeah.
I think that slowly wore off of me as I got older, being so attached to my art, my drawings and paintings. And then, like I was telling, I can't remember who it was in an interview, there are studio works that nobody sees that I can keep and be precious, or work that's super personal, but nobody needs to see it, right? And so you can have that. You can have that both. You can have both of them. But when it comes to making a living or selling it, you don't necessarily need to be attached to it. Um, and the one thing too,
Yeah.
and one thing too, maybe you can chime in on this too, is like a lot of, especially our generation. I think people really want to know who we are, and part of the selling point is being connected to us as people in our art, and so where we land in the artwork. I don't know if you feel that way, like people sort of connect to you through your art.
Yeah, I suppose so. Yeah, I don't know. I'm always a bit mystified, you know. I mean, yeah, I mean, certainly, like as far as friends go, you know, some of them like it, some of them don't care at all, you know,
Mhm.
and
But
you
I
know, other
mean,
people
even
come on board. I
strangers
mean,
that
yeah,
are.
I think you know, the more I'm getting more interest lately, I think with what I've been doing, and I feel that's because I'm more sort of, I don't know, I've sort of you know, I'm sort of going in new ground, doing the drawing. I'm sort of feeling more happy and more confident in a way about what I'm doing. Like, I think doing the exploratory process was good for me because it's like, okay, I sort of understand. And now I can look back at my own old work and I say, oh, you know, I wasn't that far off of what I was doing, but I was always felt more like, oh, I don't know what I'm doing. And
Yeah,
now at last, I think I finally feel a bit more like I know what I'm doing. I mean, even though there's still like, you know, you can always improve what you're doing. So, yeah.
yeah. Do you think, well, how do I want to phrase this? So if there is advice or a word of encouragement that you would give to your younger self as an artist, or to a person that wanted to start creating art, what would that advice be, or what would you tell them?
Well, okay, so I mean, I would definitely say yes. You're not as bad as you think. Firstly, I would say you know you've got to sort of just keep working at it, and the more you work at it, the better you get, and the more sort of confident you get, and the more you understand it. I mean, yes, yeah, like I said, I was glad that I did this sort of like really trying to sort of go simple. It was a bit like sort of stripping the engine apart and then rebuilding it, but I sort of like had to build the engine up first to sort of do that. But I was sort of like, yeah, I just sort of kept doing it until I got better at it. And I would just, you know, take whatever offers that would come along. People would say, like, people see you can draw. They say, oh, would you draw a cartoon of me or my friend for their birthday or something like that? Or, and I used to sort of hate that. I'm not really a caricaturist, but I would always sort of do it. And I got sort of got better at that too over the years. I mean, you know, you got to work at it a bit. It's like okay, I mean, there's different kinds of art though. I mean, there's like what kind of artist do you want to be is part of the question as well. I mean, do you know you could be like you know putting a brick on the floor in the Tate Gallery, you know, and saying you know there's my taping the banana to the wall. That's the recent image. You could be that artist, you know. You can be an AI artist. I don't know. Okay, AI, you're like an art director or whatever. But all right. But if you're an interesting artist, I've seen good artists do some interesting things with AI. So you know, it's just yeah. You know, same with photography. I mean, yeah, most people's photographs aren't that interesting, but you know, you can do an amazing photograph. Yeah.
Right. So that kind of segues into my next question too. If there was a different genre of art that you could explore that you haven't done already, like I don't know, theater, dance, or you know, maybe sculpture, what do you think you would be interested in doing?
Well, I have sort of explored a lot of different things. I saw this question. I was like, oh yeah, have explored a lot of different things over the years. I mean, there's one thing I'd probably like to do more, probably is I will do more eventually, is more oil painting kind of thing.
Mhm.
I did when I was younger, I did sort of some theatre stuff at school, like at high school, and I quite enjoyed that. And my sister went more doing that, so I was like, oh, she's doing that. I'm not really going to pursue it so much. And uh, yeah, dance. I don't know. I probably wouldn't be any good at dance. I don't know. I remember when I was very young, I did a thing called music and movement that I quite enjoyed. We only had like one lesson of it, and then
Wow.
I never had it again. I was quite enjoying music and movement.
No, it's a funny thing too because I have a couple of friends who have, I don't know if you call it disabilities, maybe, or use wheelchairs, and they dance. And it's so interesting
Yeah,
too now that people are more open-minded. So I think we hold ourselves back and limit ourselves what we think is a possibility. Uh,
yeah,
so when I say that, I'm like, I wonder if he is gonna be able to picture that, because I've seen so many amazing um, dance, you know, people dance that aren't traditional dancers, and
yeah.
it that's always so exciting to me. Um,
Well, yeah. I mean, yeah. If you want to, I mean, you know, I see it like you know, and there's sort of like things you can do, like adaptive skiing or something like that. And some people want to do that. I don't know. I'm like, okay, I've
You're like, I'm good.
It's okay, I'm okay.
I'm okay.
I think I can be good. I like. I mean, I'm glad I sort of found cartooning. I like doing it. I don't know. I think I've got there's sort of things in me that want to come out, and yeah. So I'm not. Yeah, I don't know. I used to joke I'd like to be a seaplane pilot. That would be like my alternate career. Like that looks good.
Funny. Oh my God. So that also speaks to, do you have like a daily practice? I talked to a couple of people, then they, have a daily prayer, daily meditation, or some people even just want to walk their dog every day. I try to sketch a little bit every day. Is there something, a daily practice that you adhere to?
Uh, no. No, not really. I do exercises. I've got really bad about them. I got quite lazy this year, but I was doing sort of Tai Chi exercises. But even that, I wasn't very good at doing them every day. I guess my New Year's resolution is to get back to it. This year, I've been quite good at my New Year's resolutions lately, but this last year was giving up coffee. I haven't had coffee all year, and that's been quite
Oof,
good. So
a good one. I'm drinking coffee right now, and I
yeah.
told myself I wasn't going to drink it a couple months ago, and that quickly went to the wayside.
It was really hard. Yeah, my friend said it was. That's mostly why I did it. Because my friend said it was harder to give up than heroin. I was like, oh, that's
Oh
rubbish.
my God.
But I think it's true. I spent 3 months thinking about nothing but caffeine because I would be drinking all day, every day, coffee or tea, and then I still would think I'll go back on it, but I don't know. But I'm like, oh, well, it's nearly the end of the year. I guess I did it nearly all year now, so I might go back on it.
Well, kudos to you,
Yeah,
man.
but actually, I'm almost like the opposite, and I don't like to have a daily routine. Like, and I sort of do. I'm a bit sort of bingy. Like, oh, now I'm really intent drawing, and I'll draw a lot, and I'll get a lot done. Now I'm not really drawing. I'm sort of doing, I'll do marketing. Or I'm working on my websitey thing, or I'm just like I'm on, So I'll sort of do things by degrees. Or I go on holiday. I don't really want to draw at all. I'm on holiday. I just want to, be on vacation, sort of thing. So yeah, I'll just sort of do things more in big chunks, which is maybe I don't know if that's good or bad. Yeah.
Right, right. And so also I've asked folks during the pandemic, we incorporated a lot of things into our daily routine, and even like at Oakland Creates, I had folks masking. Is there something that changed or shifted in the pandemic that you think we should continue to do?
Well, yeah, I talked about it a bit, like doing the sort of live drawing and getting into that, and the sort of filming it and doing all that. I got and I got a lot of work, and I sort of went through my sketches. It was sort of kind of like, well, I'd already been on this sort of process a bit already, but I quite enjoyed having the distraction actually, and a lot of my sort of day job type work was I have like an agent that I do sort of children's book work for school books and stuff like that, and a lot of that kind of went away in pandemic. I guess governments were sort of spending their budgets on other things,
Mm,
but I sort of didn't really mind because and my wife was very busy with her work, and so I just really sort of used that time to get a lot of things into books and. Okay, I saw a meme early on in the pandemic. It said Isaac Newton came up with the theory of gravity during a pandemic lockdown. What are you gonna do? I was like, what? I was like, well, that's bullshit. But I looked, I was like, oh no, it was true. But it said, oh, he'd been in a lockdown for 2 years. I was like, 2 years? And then I looked up and said, oh yeah, pandemics come around once every 100 years, and the lockdown period is always about 2 years.
wow.
So I was like, oh, this thing's going to go on for 2 years. Nobody believed me or listened to me, but I've got a little cup over there. I was going on about it afterwards because it was like literally 2 years to the day when the World Health Organization said, "Oh, we're declaring the pandemic over." I was like, oh. My wife was like, "What do you want a medal?" I was like, "Yes, I want a medal." She's got me a little cup. I've got a little gold cup saying, "Congratulations, you were right." But
Oh,
I don't know. I sort of got focused on like, oh, I'm going to get all these things into books. I got my comics into books, and I got my Earth Space into books, and several other books, and different things I had ownership of that I could do. So on my Itsy Bitsy Spider book, I put a whole bunch of things into books, and I did all this drawing, and I did my sort of Earth Space and made books. So I got really very productive over the pandemic. And I did some other. I sorted out my comic collection. I watched
no,
all
I
of
think
Doctor Who and Star
I
Trek.
no, I think a lot of times we take our schedule is so hectic, or it was so hectic before. I think we took a lot of so many things for granted, and the pandemic really slowed stuff down for me too, because not only was I working from home, but I mean, you couldn't go to the gym. I couldn't go to the gym. Gyms, clubs, all that stuff was locked down. You couldn't go out to the bar or cafe. So it
Yeah.
gave you a bunch of free time that you normally wouldn't have had. And it just really depends on how you wanted to fill that time, right?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, for me, I sort of, yeah, I know I was like, okay, as I'm getting older, I'm like, oh, I've got to get on with all this stuff. So I don't know, I got on with it all, and all right. So
It's a
I felt
different.
good. So I didn't feel too bad about the pandemic myself, but um, and also I was already sort of working at home. I sort of set up to be working from here and everything like that. So and yeah, I'm always like, oh, I don't have enough time to do the things that I want to do. So
It's a different level of
yeah.
urgency. I think for whatever reason, when you start hitting a certain age, you're like, like you said, I got to get on with it. I better start putting stuff together now. You,
Okay, okay. Well, you haven't asked me this question, but it was on the list. Like, what would you do if I had a day left to live? If I had a day left to live, I'd just spend it with my family and have a nice time and probably get drunk or smoke some pot or something. I'd have a nice time. But if you told me I had 6 months to live, I'd be like, oh, I've got to finish Pupil. I've got to, got to
no,
get past
that
my
is so
webcomic.
true. Like I was thinking about all the projects that are unfinished right now, literally halfway done. That is wild, isn't it?
Yeah.
Like we take stuff for granted. Like I have like at least four projects that are literally halfway done. Like, what are you doing, Avery? Like, why are you starting another one?
Yeah, I've
And
got a drawer full of my idea deck, like just things. Some of them are quite developed, but I haven't really started. Well, I've sort of done sketches, made notes and things. I don't know if I'll ever get to them. I don't know.
yeah,
I don't know. You
you
just got
never
to
know.
do. You got to get things finished though. I do try to get things finished.
Sketchbook full of half rendered, half drawn thumbnails and just like notes that make no sense to anybody but yourself, right?
Oh yeah, yeah. My handwriting's really illegible. It's very hard to read.
And you go back and you're like, what was I talking about? What was I what did I mean? And
Yeah,
then
I definitely think I always felt like lived in the age of computers. I was born after we landed on the moon. I don't know. I knew typing. I didn't really bother with handwriting. I thought, oh, typing's coming along. I can do it
oh
on
gosh.
computers and stuff like that. And I don't know. That's why I play around with AI because I was like, I remember being told in high school, oh, it was coming along and it was going to be able to do all these things,
Yeah.
and it's here. Yeah. All right. We could be taxing the people that are making it a bit higher.
No, it's amazing because a lot of stuff that we thought in the 80s and 90s are actually here, like self-driving cars, you know?
Self-driving cars, flying cars, even they're finally starting to come around.
Yeah, like little robots that will bring your food to you.
Yeah, little robots. Yeah, we're going to Disneyland with my son. Well, it was probably about 20 years ago now, God, because he was about 6 or something, and well, he's not. Yeah, well, not maybe 15 years ago, and they had the little Asimo robot came
Yeah.
out, and we saw a little performance from Asimo, and that was kind of. I thought that was weird because we also went to see the Terminator show at Universal Studios, which
Mm.
is like
Wow.
there where the robots quickly turn on you and start shooting you down.
No, that's crazy too. You kind of just hit the nail on the head because now they have the robots for the police that will go and capture or blow up a criminal. That's wild too. When I first saw that, I think it happened in Texas where they sent a robot in to kill the suspect. I'm like, this is crazy. It's not even a human anymore.
Oh, I didn't hear about that. Okay, yeah,
Oh,
yeah. Well,
yeah.
yeah, again, I'll always like Judge Dredd. So, Judge Dredd's always 120 years in the future. So, you won't live to see it, hopefully. But it's never good. It's not good news.
Not good news at all. So, as we wrap this up, what would your ideal studio look like? With a certain place or certain equipment? If you had, your dream studio, what would that look like?
All right. Well, I'm sort of pretty happy again with my sort of setup. I'm like here. I'm in my little. I don't think I've got my little studio area at the back of the house, which sort of opens onto my little backyard, and then the garage. I've got like a corner of the garage where I do my sort of wet work. So I'm quite happy. I mean, I think the only real difference I'd like to have is just probably more expensive equipment and have a nice view out over something. But mostly, I'm quite happy. I don't know. I don't tend to think like that too much.
Do you live in San Francisco now?
Yeah, in Excelsior District in San Francisco. Yeah,
Yeah. So one thing a lot of people said is I want a studio in nature, but close enough
yeah,
to drive to the city, but out in nature, which I found
yeah.
fascinating. Yeah.
Yeah, I think, yeah, nice to sort of look out the window and see the herds of majestic wildebeest sweeping across the plain,
Nice.
But
But also, what do you have coming up next? I know we just wrapped up pretty much all of 2025. You did what it was, the San Francisco, was it the Expo?
I was at the Fan Expo. Yes, I've done that one every year. And I've got a few more shows coming up. I'm doing something in March up in Oregon, Game Storm. I'm trying to do a few more gaming related shows because, yeah, I do work for Goodman Games. I've got my comics is quite fantasy game related. I've got quite a lot of art that I've done for Goodman Games, so I really feel like I should be at more game shows. So they're not quite as easy to exhibit at, I'm finding, as comic shows. They don't all have like big artist alleys or anything, so it's more like, they want vendor booths and stuff like that. So, but I'm trying to sort of get into that, and hopefully through Goodman Games, hopefully I can get into that a bit more. And I'm doing one in February, I think, down in San Luis Obispo, that's being organised by Nero Case, who does Heavy Meadow comics,
Oh wow.
and so that's happening in February. So yes, I didn't do a lot of shows for a while when I was doing more of the children's illustration, but now I'm sort of getting back in comics, and I'm doing this Astro Kitty comic. So I'm working on the actual comic book with Kelty McGonigal. So she's sort of writing it, and I'm going to draw it. And I think I'm going to do an actual comic book, which I haven't actually done before. Like retroactively, I put Pupil into comic books, but this will be more like, oh, I'm going to make a comic book.
That's awesome. Awesome. So shout out your social media as well so folks can follow you.
Yes, I'm at Earth Space, URF Space, or you can find me just by my name, Chuck Whelan. I'm pretty much my name. I know something about the spelling of my name. Everyone spells it AN or EN or some different way. If you spell it right, WHELON, you get me. So yeah.
Sweet. This was awesome. This was so amazing. Like I said, we haven't sat down to talk for a couple of years online in this sort of format. So I really appreciate you spending the time today.
Thank you, AV. Yeah, it's good. I was a bit nervous being the one being interviewed. Yeah, but it was
No
fun.
need to be nervous. You're awesome. Thank you so much.
All right, thank you.